Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. Saturday was usually my day off. The only reason I was in a dumpy town like Miller's Creek was for a special client. I worked for a company called Titan Manufacturing. We made tough phones, the kind that could handle explosions and crazy weather, not your everyday iPhone. Our biggest customers were oil companies, factories, and anyone working in hellish conditions. That day, I'd fixed a small problem at a huge grain elevator and was filling up my truck before hitting the road again. Terry. I turned, surprised. It was Maggie, an old friend from back when we lived near the city. Maggie and her husband, Ben, used to live down the street. We'd hung out a few times, ages ago. Seeing her felt good, a little spark of the past. Hey Maggie, what are you doing way out here? Just visiting family, she said. What about you? Work thing in Miller's Creek. How's Ben and the kids? We talked for a bit, catching up on the years. Then she invited me back to their place for a family barbecue. Maggie was from the coal country part of the state, and Ben's family was all from around Miller's Creek. Most of the people there were Ben's relatives. I called my wife Sarah and told her I'd been held up seeing old friends. She and Maggie chatted for a few minutes, which made me feel a little less guilty about being late. The barbecue was pretty normal, except for one thing. I met Ben's dad, his two brothers, and a bunch of their kids. Every single one of them had the same crooked smile. A tooth on the right side of their mouth stuck out a little, and when they grinned, their lips did this funny little twist. It was odd. Maggie, I said later, pulling her aside. Quick question. You need more burgers? Nope, all good. What's up? That smile. All the kids? Ben, his brothers? What's the deal? She laughed a little. Oh, you noticed. It's hard not to when they're all together, right? It's a family thing. Ben, his brothers, their dad, they all have this one front tooth that's a bit wonky. They pass it down. It's kinda cute. Huh. I nodded, a little unsettled, and let her get back to being the hostess. Driving back home, I had a lot of time to think. Sarah and I had been married for 20 years. We met in college, hit it off fast. A few years later, I started at Titan and had been there almost 19 years. We had twin boys, 18, going off to Penn State in the fall, and a sweet little girl, Lily, who just turned 14. We figured the boys would get loans and stuff for college and hoped Lily would too. Sarah and I had a decent life, a cozy house, 2 cars. In 2 years, I'd be in the company pension plan, a solid safety net. Over the years, Titan had offered me chances to move, but Sarah always shut that down. Otherwise, we got along okay. Our sex life was routine. Not exciting, but there weren't any big problems in our marriage, or so I thought. Sarah had made a light dinner, knowing I'd probably be stuffed from the barbecue. She asked how everyone was and said she wished she could have been there. Lily sat across from us, quiet, eating her food. The boys were out doing whatever teenage boys do. Everything felt normal until Lily looked up and smiled. Her right lip curled, showing a slightly pointy tooth, and for a split second, she looked exactly like one of Ben's kids. My stomach dropped. My appetite vanished. I excused myself from the table. Suddenly, a cold certainty washed over me. Lily was Ben's daughter. Around the time Sarah got pregnant with Lily, our sex life, our whole connection had started to fade. Sarah never said no, but the spark was gone. I figured it was just life, things changing. I got used to the lukewarm affection, expected it to be the way things were. Deep down, I wanted more, but I didn't want to be demanding. Now everything clicked into place. A nasty, sickening realization. Her frequent trips to Miller's Creek over the last 14 years. It all pointed to one thing, an ongoing affair. I'm not one for yelling and screaming, but I knew I had to talk to Sarah. I just hoped I could keep it together. A million questions raced through my head, and by bedtime, I felt completely drained. I told Sarah the barbecue food had upset my stomach and slept on the couch that night. The next day, I spent the entire day in the garage, fiddling with old projects I'd been putting off. Anything to kill time, to think. The possibilities were endless, and none of them felt good. I wasn't looking for revenge, but I sure as hell didn't want my actions to somehow benefit Sarah and her lover. My first thought was for the boys. Even though Lily wasn't mine, I still loved her and didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want to hurt Sarah either, not really. But I also wasn't about to end up supporting her and Ben for the rest of my life. I knew one thing for sure. I didn't want to spend any more time with Sarah than I absolutely had to. Her reaction when I confronted her would probably decide what I did next. I decided to have the conversation after Sunday dinner. Sarah was a great cook, and that night was no different. The boys took off after eating, heading to a friend's. Lily finished her dessert, and when she went to the living room, Sarah and I were finally alone with our coffee. Something's been bothering you all day, Tom? Sarah said, her voice calm. Want to tell me what it is? I guess my face gave it away. I'm just wondering how long we're going to pretend Lily's mine. There it was, blunt and ugly. A long silence hung in the air. Then, A deep sigh from Sarah. It's surprising it took you this long to figure it out. She didn't even flinch, just looked at the middle of the table. I don't think she needs to know until she's 18, unless she has some health problem that makes it necessary. Everything's fine as it is. We won't gain anything by telling her now. Is that fair? Fair to whom? A stable family life is important for a girl her age. She doesn't need this right now. I'll tell her when the time is right. In the meantime, just keep your mouth shut. I was stunned. I just told my wife I knew about her cheating, and somehow she was the one making demands. I expected apologies, maybe some guilt. Instead, she acted like nothing was wrong, like things would just keep going as they always had, whether I liked it or not. My first instinct was to grab her, but just then, I saw a flicker of movement in the hallway. Lily. She'd been listening. When I went quiet, I heard her quickly retreat. I took a deep breath. Should we consider getting a divorce, Sarah? I just told you it's important to keep things stable for a few more years. Divorce is out of the question. What would Lily and I do if we split up? It's better to wait until she's older, until things settle down financially. Suddenly, everything clicked into place for me too. In 2 years, I'd have access to my full pension. Sarah would also be entitled to a chunk of it when she turned 65. She'd been planning this carefully for a long time. I sat there saying nothing. At least we won't have to do that pity sex anymore, she said, a nasty edge in her voice. That's a big relief. What are you talking about? For the last 15 years, I've slept with you whenever you wanted, just to keep you from getting suspicious. It went on way longer than I thought it would because you were so damn slow to catch on. But hey, it's over now. No more pretending. I might even start going to Miller's Creek more often. I sat there for a few more minutes, the silence thick and heavy. I'll move my stuff to the spare room while you and Lily do the dishes. Don't want to inconvenience you. You're acting like a spoiled brat, Tom. We can sleep in the same room without sex. It's better for the kids. I didn't answer. The spare room had a pull-out couch with a mattress like a rock. But at least I wouldn't have to lie next to her anymore. I left the house before anyone could say anything. Didn't want to answer questions about where I'd be sleeping. After a quick breakfast, I went to work. I'd spent most of the night awake, making plans. It was going to be a busy day. My bosses at Titan were more than happy to talk. I spent the morning tying up loose ends, clearing my desk, and heading out for lunch. As I ate a greasy cheesesteak, I realized I was smiling to myself, a grim kind of satisfaction. Things were starting to move. I spent the rest of the day at the bank, the insurance office, and looking for a new job. I got home around 3, which was unheard of. What the hell are you doing home so early? Sarah snapped. I quit my job. What? You loved that job. Why would you quit? She paused, waiting for an answer that didn't come. Are you still upset about yesterday? No. I just decided I was working too much and wanted a change. Starting tomorrow, I've got a new job at Miller's feed mill. What the hell are you going to do at a feed mill? Shoveling grain, loading trucks and rail cars. No stress, no responsibility. Plus, I'm hoping to lose a little weight. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. How are we going to pay for the boys' college? That job pays next to nothing. The bank will give us a second mortgage on the house. That'll cover the down payment for 4 years for both of them. They can still apply for grants and loans if they need more. What about your pension? You were so close. Yeah, needed 20 years. Didn't have them. Did you get a severance package? Vacation pay? Sick leave? Nope, nope, and nope. To get decent leave, you need to give 60 days notice. Severance is only if you're laid off. I just walked out. And what about making 2 house payments? This house is too big for just us anyway. We'll probably end up selling it. You've lost your mind, Tom. Sarah shook her head, disbelief etched on her face, and walked away. A strange sense of pride washed over me. My plan was taking shape. Over the next 2 months, my relationship with Sarah went downhill fast. But my bond with Lily, it was weird. She became this perfect little daughter, even though she wasn't mine. I wasn't sure if she'd actually heard our whole conversation that night. The second mortgage went through without a hitch, mostly because I'd done all the groundwork. Every dollar went straight to Penn State for the boys' tuition. We couldn't afford the mortgage anymore, so the house went up for sale. I quietly sold my gun and coin collection and stashed the cash somewhere safe. I traded my BMW for a beat-up Ford pickup to cut down on bills. Sarah and Lily kept their cell phones, but I got rid of mine and told the boys to do the same if they wanted. I barely made enough to cover bills and food. We had to put off mortgage payments until the house sold, but the bank understood. After the sale, we had about 30 grand left. I took the whole check and bought Sarah a brand new Lincoln sedan, the kind that loses value faster than you can drive it off the lot. In 5 years, it would be worthless. I hoped she liked it. We rented a small, rundown house in a less desirable part of town. Sarah started going to Miller's Creek even more. We never talked about it. I tried to save a little from my meager paycheck, but it never worked out. Sarah didn't know, but I'd canceled or cashed out all the life insurance policies. That money also went into my secret account. Lily and I grew close. She started pulling away from Sarah, clinging to me more. I didn't mind, but it seemed to irritate Sarah. The boys were doing great at college. When Lily turned 16, I asked her what she wanted for her birthday. She whispered in my ear and asked me not to tell her mom. Sarah was furious when she saw that Lily had gotten her pointy tooth removed. The dentist had managed it without leaving a gap. There was just a little sore spot on her gum that he said would heal without a trace. Lily was thrilled. Sarah didn't speak to me for a week. I thought it was the best gift ever. I lost a good amount of weight working at the feed mill. With the right lighting, I almost looked like I had abs. The first few weeks were brutal, but eventually, it became almost enjoyable, a physical release. Lily was in her senior year of high school, and we were best friends. It was her choice, not mine, but I was touched. Out of nowhere, Sarah went from sulking to being bizarrely happy, cheerful, bouncing around like a kid. I put up with it for a few days, then cornered Lily. "What the hell is going on with your mom?" "I'd rather not talk about it," she said, her face tight. "She's acting disgustingly happy." "What do you mean?" 3 days ago, she found out that Maggie has cervical cancer. The doctors say she has less than 3 months to live. Ever since Mom heard, she's been giddy. It's awful. Maggie never did anything to her, and she's acting like a real jerk about it. "It's not nice to call your mother a jerk, Lily." "I don't know what else to call her right now." Unfortunately, I had to agree. Now that I knew the reason for Sarah's sudden joy, I felt a similar cold satisfaction. It wasn't easy to be around her and keep my mouth shut. I worked a lot of overtime and spent a lot of time away from home. Sometimes Lily would come with me, and we'd just wander around the mall for hours, not wanting to go back to that house. 3 weeks later, I got divorce papers. Since Lily was about to turn 18 before the divorce was final, there was no custody battle. We didn't have a house anymore, and the bank accounts were empty. Sarah didn't ask for alimony or support. It was a clean break, based on irreconcilable differences. I signed everything and quit my job at the feed mill. I stopped by the Titan office one last time, then quickly visited the bank before heading home. Sarah wasn't there. Lily said she'd gone to Miller's Creek for a few days to comfort Maggie. We both shared a quiet, bitter laugh. I handed Lily an envelope with $110,000. I apologized that it wasn't much but promised to send more later. I explained that I had to leave and that she would be fine with her mother. She was upset but still helped me pack my few things. Sarah could deal with whatever needed to be done around that sad little rental after I left. I had no idea what Lily's plans were after graduation. She offered to tell the twins about our separation but said she couldn't be impartial. 6 weeks after I left, Maggie died. My old friend, Frank Keller, lived in a small place in the Ocala National Forest down in Florida. Retired Air Force, spent his days fishing and hitting up yard sales with his wife, Wanda. Frank had been bugging me to visit for years. It was good to have somewhere to go. I'd always been fascinated by those fishing shows, the giant fish and crazy lures. Frank spent the next few weeks proving it was real. He taught me how to cast a popper over lily pads, the thrill of a huge bass exploding out of the water. For the first few months, it was a welcome escape, but then it started to feel a bit empty. I didn't hear anything from home, mainly because no one knew where I was. I was counting down the days until the divorce was final. Frank and Wanda knew what was going on and were incredibly supportive. The day after the divorce was official, Frank and Wanda were taking me to the Orlando airport. I packed light, so getting my stuff together was easy. I left my beat-up pickup with Frank as a thank you. Then things took a weird turn. We'd barely pulled out of the driveway when a black SUV pulled up behind us. Frank had no idea who they were. 2 guys got out. The older one introduced himself as Agent Miller, FBI. His partner was Agent Davies. "We're looking for Tom Harrison. Can you help us?" I didn't say anything, just raised my hand slightly. "Mr. Harrison, we need a few minutes of your time. Can you help us out?" "Sure, no problem." Frank and Wanda exchanged a look and went back inside. We all sat down at the picnic table in the yard. Miller put a small recorder and a notebook on the table. "Tell us about your trip to Lisbon, Mr. Harrison." "Nothing special. Just moving for a new job." "Why now? I assume you know your divorce was finalized yesterday." "Yeah, I postponed the move until it was official." "Is that a problem?" "Not at all. Just clarifying a few things." "Let's cut the crap. What the hell are you doing here and what do you want?" "I've got a plane to catch, and I'm not in the mood for games. Get to the point." Miller and Davies looked at each other and shrugged. Miller closed his notebook. "Ben Walker was killed yesterday afternoon, in a car bomb explosion. Given the circumstances surrounding your divorce, we felt it was important to speak with you." "Wow," I said, trying to sound surprised. "Just in time, huh?" Well, I suppose you know I've been here for 3 months. Frank and Wanda can vouch for that. And I have absolutely no idea how to make a bomb. To be honest, I really had no reason to want Ben dead. From where I was sitting, he did me a favor. I wanted out of that marriage. Couldn't wait for it to be over. I'm not exactly heartbroken about his affair with Sarah. A little ticked off that I spent 14 years raising his kid. Maybe, but not enough to blow him up. Still, the timing is interesting. We know who planted the explosives, Mr. Harrison, Agent Miller said, his voice flat. And we know it wasn't you. What we specifically need to find out is whether you paid for it to be done, and if you know the person who did it. Tell me who you think did it, and I'll tell you if I know him. Do you know someone named Tony Marino from upstate? I don't know anyone by that name. In fact, I don't know anyone from upstate at all. Have you checked phone records? How do you know it was him? We couldn't find any calls to Mr. Marino from anywhere in Florida over the past month. The way the bomb was made was crude but effective. Mr. Marino has used the same techniques several times before, but we haven't been able to catch him. What exactly are you trying to get from me? I don't know anything about the explosion. I'm not acquainted with this Marino guy, and I couldn't care less if Ben Walker is alive or dead. Ben Walker was the reason my wife left me, in a way. I'm almost grateful to him for that. No grudge here, honestly. We just didn't want to leave any stone unturned. I'm sure you understand. Will you be available if we need to speak with you again? Absolutely. I'll contact you once I've settled in. Hours later, I was on my way to Lisbon. The flight gave me plenty of time to think. My relationship with Sarah had been rotten for years. I was too blind to see she was sleeping with someone else, worse, raising his kid as my own. I did love Lily, though, grew even closer to her after the truth came out. Once I realized Sarah was planning to leech off my hard work and retirement, I decided to act. Titan was more than happy to put my job on hold for a few years if I took over the new European division. The timing worked out perfectly for both of us. I hadn't counted on Ben dying, but Lily was almost done with school anyway. My new gig as Vice President of Operations at Continental came with a fat raise, great benefits, and my old pension plan reinstated. I had some savings tucked away, and all my ducks were in a row. I felt a pang of guilt about Lily, not doing more for her right then, but I figured I could make it up to her later. The twins were finishing up at Penn State, doing well. I was a bit behind Sarah and Lily in the life status department, but I hoped to catch up once I was settled. The chat with the FBI guys was quicker and easier than I expected. Felt a little odd, but I didn't dwell on it. Just a silent wave of relief washed over me, though it did make me wonder what the hell had really happened. Settling into my new life turned out to be surprisingly easy. Suddenly, I had people working for me, and they'd pretty much taken care of everything before I even arrived. The house, or rather, the villa, they'd picked for me was stunning, perched on a hillside with a beautiful view of the harbor. I took language classes twice a week and had private lessons on the side. Life was good in its own strange way. For one reason or another, I wasn't in touch with Lily or Sarah. In fact, no one except the company and the twins knew where I was. My son, Ryan, was in grad school in Texas, and my other son, Rob, was now a second lieutenant in the Army thanks to ROTC. They mentioned Sarah was at Ryan's graduation party, but no one talked about the divorce or us living apart. They readily agreed not to tell her my address. They didn't know where she lived or what she was doing and avoided asking Lily. Lily had apparently told them everything that led to the divorce, didn't sugarcoat a thing. Seemed they were a bit ticked off at their mother. I was proud of all three of my kids. A year passed, and things were going smoothly. In early April, I got an invitation to Lily's wedding. Unfortunately, I got it about 2 weeks after the ceremony. There was a small, handwritten note inside, saying she wished I could have been there if I'd gotten the invite on time. I felt a pang of sadness for missing it. It took my assistant about 2 hours to track down Lily and her new husband, Frank Conley, in a town called King of Prussia. "Hi, Lily. It's Dad. Dad. Oh my God, Dad. You got my invitation. I've missed you so much. Hey, slow down, slow down. It's all good. I'm just so sorry I didn't find out about the wedding until it was too late. I'm really upset I missed it. It was wonderful, Dad, and even though you weren't there, everything went perfectly. But I really wanted you to walk me down the aisle. Frank is a great guy, Dad, you'll like him. He just finished his engineering degree, and hopefully, he'll start his new job in a couple of months." Lily chattered on, sounding as excited to talk to me as she was about the wedding. I was genuinely happy for her. "I didn't get you anything. What do you need or want?" "I need to see you, Dad, and introduce you to Frank. Can you come visit?" "Not right now, honey, but why don't you and Frank come visit me? I've got a beautiful place, plenty of room. I can arrange the tickets if you guys can figure out the timing." Okay, that sounds tempting. Can I call you back tomorrow? Give me your number. I love you, Dad, and I miss you. I can't wait to see you. I'll make it work. Don't worry." Lily's new husband, Frank, seemed like everything a father could hope for. Good-looking, hardworking, ambitious. I liked him right away and felt confident he'd take good care of my daughter. Even though I knew Lily wasn't biologically mine, I loved her like she was. When Lily and Frank came to visit, she was eager to tell me about her mother. After Ben's death, Sarah had become a pariah in his family. They seemed to think she was somehow responsible for what happened. There were also whispers about her affair with Ben while Maggie was still alive, which made her even more unwelcome. Without Ben, Sarah had no way to support herself. She was now working at a greasy diner off the turnpike and living in a trailer near Miller's Creek. While Lily was getting ready to go out for dinner with Frank and me, I had a quick chat with him. Any specific plans after you start working, Frank? Mostly just work, sir. Lily's agreed to move wherever I need to go, so that makes things a lot easier. I'd prefer to find a job I enjoy rather than getting stuck somewhere I hate. I can understand that. We talked for a bit about his studies and the kind of job he was looking for. Surprisingly, he spoke Italian quite well, picked it up from his grandparents who lived with him growing up in Philadelphia. We were planning to open a service center in Parma, and the only real challenge was finding a specialist who spoke our language. In this case, education and management skills were more important than years of experience. I was mulling over how to make this work while listening to Frank. It would be great if Lily were close enough for me to see her now and then. It was good to be the boss. Just then, Lily joined us, looking lovely. We chatted as we walked to the car. Lily, I said, since I couldn't make it to the wedding, what would you like as a gift? Frank chuckled. Actually, Lily's Uncle Tony introduced us, and he gave us a very generous wedding gift. Oh, I asked. Yeah, Frank said, laughing a little. I never expected to get a $10,000 wedding gift from anyone, especially not from Uncle Tony. Not that he has a real job or anything. I'm not sure where he gets his money, but we definitely appreciated it. Well, I'll have to remember to send Uncle Tony Conley a nice thank you note, I said. Oh no, Dad, Lily said, a small smile playing on her lips. He's an uncle on my mother's side. His last name is Marino. I glanced at Lily, and that familiar, slightly crooked smile flickered across her face. Just like Ben, just like his brothers, just like her. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.